Okay, good evening. It is Sunday, September 29th, and it is about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. So I'm Money Duck, and I'm going to go over all the instruments. So I sat up. I've already posted all the 4-hour charts, and on a couple of them I posted like a zoom in on the 4 hours. Some of them I had to go down to a smaller time frame just to show where I pulled some of the zones from. So cleaned off the charts. Drew the trend lines back in, drew the zones back in, some of my move zones, some of my left them where they were. Basically just get a clean look at what's happening. So this is recorded live and then in private. And I'm not even going to have this one out to you guys till it's done. But what I want you to know, for you that are in premium, that these will be going out live in the premium section where you can come in and watch them live if you want to. But obviously they're recorded on YouTube, so you can watch it anytime you want. But when I go over all the instruments, it's for the premium section. Okay, so I know here the last month or so as we transitioned from a couple other groups that and trying to build up the Discord, we didn't have a lot of action going on in the free section, so that's why I posted a lot of content out there. Now we've got a good set of people out there that are, it's more active. So I'll still be posting out there, but not as much of the content. It's probably just going to be maybe gold oil or gold ES. I'm just going to pick two and post out there as I trade, because the rest of them, again, is for the premium section. And especially once we launch the alerts and everything. So you guys are getting the full video of all the instruments. Now, if it looks like it's going to be very, very long, like 2-3 hours here as we go over this, which I don't think we'll get into that, then I might cut it short and do a separate one for the currencies. Okay, the currency pairs. So it just depends on how we get, because really all I'm touching on is the 4 hour and how they're set up right now and how they're set up to possibly trade. Okay. So that's what we're going to be going over. We're going to go over the 4 hour and dial it down. We're going to start with platinum, gold, oil. We're going to dial down through, hit our metals, hit our energies, hit the indices, hit the currencies, and we'll hit some crypto as well. So I've got 3 crypto to go over. So that's what we're looking to do right now. Okay, so let's go right into the chart. And you should be able to see my screen now. It looks like you can. So I'm just got them zoomed out so you can see the big picture. Obviously, we have a point down here to draw a trend line off of, one here to draw one. I can't really say that's in an uptrend. Okay, we have a point to draw a trend line off of here. We have one here. Here in the past, we had this low. That's where the trend line was. Even before that, over here, we had this low. So our line was from here to here as it went up. Well, once it broke it here, and I've covered this before the past weeks, well, it broke it, then we had to move the line out. Once it pushes up, then you move the line out. It breaks it again, moves up, push the line out, moves down here. So it broke that line because it was here to here. It broke through it again. Once it moves back up, it's formed a low. You can say it's formed a low, moved it. So what's happened is it's kept pushing down. So this really is not platinum's not in a downtrend or an uptrend on a 4 hour or a day. I've got it on daily to show you the whole thing. But even zooming in on a 4 hour, then we can go in and see some smaller moves and look and say, okay, we saw lower lows, lower highs over here. It was in a downward move. So we actually had this trend line was drawn from this high down to this one and on through. Well, it broke it. Tested the backside and then still pushed up. So when it did, we had to move the line. So a lot of times will have to keep moving your outer trend lines. Don't move them too soon. You don't move it when it's pushing. I wasn't moving this outer trend line. I wasn't pushing it up as candles were printing on the way up. You wait till it starts to swing back down. You wait till you say, okay, it has definitely formed a high because we had to move up and we have a couple candles pushing down. Yep, that's a high. I'll move my line. That's what you need to wait on. So right now, what we're looking at, though, if you look over here, it actually pushed up. We had a trend. The trend line was drawn down here from the low on up to these wicks, on up. That wick tapped it. Well, it broke through. On this downward push here, it broke through the trend line. So once it started pushing up, okay, once that candle pushed up, we said, okay, 4-hour turn. I mean, it pushed down, it pushed up. That's a low. And we moved the trend line out there. So right now, that's where we're tracking. So shorter term time frame, we're saying, okay, we're in a bullish move. It's still pushing up from over here. Pushed up. We had a nice retracement, pushed up. Right now, where it's at, it's kind of in the middle of the zone. If you look back at where we draw these points, always try and find multiple reasons to draw your line. Find multiple times that it has hit a level, okay? As you look at this little line in here, we had a swing down and a turn. I love that point. Okay, let's see how valid that is. Here, kind of respected it, hit it, pulled down, kind of tested it, not quite, didn't go right to it. But then look at this swing up. That swing up turned right at that level. Okay, I like that better than these little touches here. Pull back down. Well, where did it come up here on this wick? Right back to that price level. So that was a level that I had picked out over here. It's kind of messed around with it over here. It doesn't look as great over here. I'm going to leave it there because at one point that was a good price point in the market between the bullish side and the bearish side. So I'm going to leave it there. That may not end up staying on there by the end of the week because right in here, it's just really messed with that area. Love the zone down here. Obviously, we pick a high and look at the wick for a high point. That's where this yellow zone came from, was this high area here, the wick of that candle. So we have some good levels. And then we need to look here because right here on the 4-hour, we had a nice push up and it's double topped. Okay. So it's double topped here. So I don't know if it's going to go back up. We'll get a triple top or if this may just continue to push bearish. As far as a smaller time frame trend line, can we draw one? Well, we can look to draw one down here if I can click it on that area, which I don't know if I'll be able to do with the zone there. We'll see. Click it down there and we look to there. Well, we've already got one there. Okay, so we have that other line. So I'm not going to mark it. So I'm going to look, can I put one here, take the bottom of it and maybe go here? Okay, that looks good to me. So that is a valid trend line. As you look, you say, okay, look at how just drawing from this point to this point, this dip when it pulled back and bounced. So basically, we had a nice push up, nice extension. It pulled back probably about 38, probably about 24% actually of this move up. Pulled back about 24%. A nice extension past the high. Nice pullback to test the high. And then a push up. So we've made these highs up in here and then it pushed through the trend line. Do I want to move this out here? If I move this out here, that may change my bias. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Overall, I could do this. I could leave it here and I could still think bullish. Why? I have a trend line here. This trend line right here and the fact that it was moving up over here on the left, pushed through the downtrend line, tested the back of the downtrend line and pushed back up to make a higher high. Bullish. That's bullish structure, bullish confirmation. So we have several reasons to say overall, platinum is bullish right now. But does that mean it can't pull back? No, it doesn't. It's bullish overall, but we could see a retracement down here into this area. So I could fully see it coming back and retracing down into this area right here because we have a support line here, which I've left on the chart. And then we have our outer uptrend line here. So I would be down on the lower time frame watching it for how it sets up underneath the zone. If it breaks back through the top of the yellow zone, it's kind of tight in here. You can play that if you want. If it sets up and gives you a nice bounce at the top of the zone, then yes, I would trade it long. Just know that it may not go here. I mean, it just may not take off and go through all that to get there. Okay. It may. See these candles right here? Mark that turning point. Mark the candle close turning point there, because I could see it coming up, bouncing, hitting, maybe even going through a little bit, maybe come back up, tapping that level again, coming back, maybe tapping up here, and then coming down before it does that, before it goes long. So I'm not going to consider it a long-term play all the way up to here. It's got to really set up for that. Okay, but ultimately we can capture and trade this. And like I said, I would definitely take a horizontal ray line and mark that area right there and mark it as a 4-hour support and resistance level, because that's where the candle's closed overall on the 4-hour. And then, of course, we would dial it down to a 60, dial it down to the 15, and so on, looking for entry. Let me take this and take that off. We don't really need it. But again, you can see the difference how we mark this line, or I mark this line off of the 4-hour candle closes. When you get to the 1 hour, well, it broke through. Some 1 hour candles broke through back and forth. So again, there's a huge difference. And this is what you got to learn to read, is just the 4-hour. Again, you see the bodies of the candles closed. This is where a lot of people say a fake breakout. To me, there's no such thing as a fake breakout. And it's not like the market's playing tricks on us. It is not. The market's not playing tricks. There's nothing fake about it. I hate when people use the term false breakout, fake out. It's not. It's not. The market's just moving. It's not faking anybody out. It's moving. You have to learn how to read it. And when you get into those smaller time frames, you're taking more risk. I trade in smaller time frames all the time. That adds risk to our trades. You could still take a trade on a 4-hour time frame, and there's a lot of risk. If it came up here to this, let me ask you this. So let's say it came back up and a green candle closed on that line. Would you take it short? A 4-hour time frame? I mean, look what it did over here. Hit the line, went short. Hit the line, went short. Hit the line, went short. If it came up here, would you take it short? If you did, where would your stop be? Well, technically, your stop needs to be above this high over here. These two highs. That's a huge stop. So if you can't stomach that stop, you're not going to trade. You shouldn't be trading on a 4-hour time frame. That's where your stop should be. No 2-tick stop, 5-tick. You can't do that. You can't go back and go, well, right there. I'm just going to go right to that very tippy top of that candle, that wick. You can't do that. That doesn't work, because the market is going to go through that stop. And then people will say, oh, it was a false breakout. It was a stop hunt. No, it wasn't. The market moves the way the market moves. Learn to read the market. There's no stop hunting there when it pulled up. It's platinum moving like platinum moves, and we've already seen it touch this area twice. So if it came up here and I shorted it, my stop should be above those highs. And guess what should not surprise me? If I were to take it short there and I'm in the negative for a while because it pulls up to this area, guess what? That should not surprise you. And if you think about the move beforehand and you see it up here and you say, well, I want to get in short, don't be surprised when it comes back through and comes up this level. Don't let it shock you. You should know it's coming, or it's a possibility, and you have to prepare for it. If you can't sit in that negative, if you say, well, I'd like to take that short, it's right here. Look what it's done every time. Every time the 4-hour candle's taken off below that. Exactly. But also look at the wicks. You have to look that trading this short, it wicked up here. It wicked up here. So it did blow through that level a few times. So again, you have to say to yourself, well, that's too far of a stop. I'm not going to do it. I can't sit in that much negative. Putting on, let's say, your 10 contracts. So could you put on one? Can you stomach that? Can you put on one short with the stop loss up here? Look at that risk. Look at how far that is and say, okay, I can live with that. Maybe it's $100 loss and you can live with that. Well, then place the trade with one contract. Don't go on with multiple contracts. And platinum, you're not putting 10 on anyways. Nobody should be putting 10 on platinum. It does not have a micro. So when I reference that 10 on or 1, that's typically everything but platinum, as everything else has micros. But overall, you need to wait and see how this sets up on a smaller time frame before we can decide on which way we're going to trade it. Gold, I don't know what to say for gold. We've all-time highs. You guys know we've been doing all-time highs. As I scroll back the chart, there it is. I mean, it's making all-time highs, keeps making all-time highs. You guys know I was buying gold, precious metals, jewelry, and stuff back in 2011. And back then, it was just approaching, it was 10 or 11. I'm pretty sure it was 11. And it was approaching 1,000. And we didn't know. It was like 900 when I started, I think. And we were wondering if it was going to go above 1,000, And here we're, breaking 2,600, 2,700. So we're well above that, by a couple thousand. So we keep making all-time highs. Leaving all the trend lines there. I've left all the trend lines here because we're in a retracement right now as it pulled down. And this is a new trend line. This one was not even drawn until recently. You could see here's the touch point here. Here's the point it was drawn off of. So basically, once this line, which was drawn from down here to here, once that line was broke, okay, candle broke through, closed below it, candle pulled up, tested the back side, and it pulled down, making this right here is a low, but it's about the same price point, okay? And then made a lower high here and then made another push to make a big lower low. That's a huge retracement on the way down. Now, when can we call that a trend? You can call a retracement a trend now. It's a shorter term trend. I'm never going to say that gold is in a downtrend. You will not hear the words out of my mouth, gold's in a downtrend. Why? Because gold's been in an uptrend for decades, okay? So that being said, is gold ever going to trend down? It'll retrace down, and you can call that a downtrend retracement, if you want to call it that. Basically, it's retracing. It's pulling back. We're seeing price pull back. So right now, as we look at topped here, this is a trend line. So ignore that. It's not a wick. So it topped out here, lower lows, lower highs. It's pulled back up to that line. This retracement line is made from this high of this wick to the high of this wick, which is the top of that box, that candle there. So those 2 points is what makes up the retracement line. Right now, it's back to that level. So we're going to dial down to a lower time frame. We look at the 60. We look at the 15-minute. I also have some 4-hour marks, 4-hour lines that were marked off 4-hour candles or wicks, multiple touches. It's pulling up to that level. So this is that green trend line that I drew, the up line. And ultimately, if it breaks through that, what I would like to see is it break through and then form a low, pull back up to test up in here, to test the backside of both these lines. And then the backside of this line and test the retracement line, and then get in short. Make sure there's enough room to close partial, because it may just bounce here and pop back through. If it breaks through the retracement line, it may follow this one all the way up. So we've got multiple levels in here. You may want to take the orange or the yellow line off when we get to a smaller time frame, because that is a huge wick over there that it's marking. Okay, and you may want to dial it down to like a 10-minute or 15 and look for that area. So that's where it's at right now. If it does break through this green line here, the uptrend line here, breaks through, tests the back of that, our target is going to be this bottom here, this zone. Okay, but just keep in mind that as it comes down, it may hit this support level, Also, that little uptrend line here, it may bounce there, pull back to the retracement line before going through. So it's okay to trade it short. Just know your limits and know that I'm trying to fix something here, guys. Just know that it may not, we'll shut that off. Basically,